CEO of Agro Nigeria and Agro Africa. Terry, your presentation. So typically in Nigeria, for instance, you have, I think, a lot of big players in the space. Yeah, I mean, Dangote, for instance, is doing some crazy things. It's coming to rise the Dangote way, like we were saying yesterday. So you leverage these, will I say, stakeholder energies on the ground. Again, I promised I was going to get you to sit down with the president of the Africa Development Bank, because that is critical. They're trying to integrate Africa as one aspect of the high fives, strategy they have. And I think that the energy they are creating from there as well can be mainstreamed into what you're doing, and you get better and even greater impact. Beyond that, it is really going to be difficult, to connect West Africa on a francophone, anglophone, perspective or point of view. But I think that the work's got to be done. We've got to be innovative, look at how to sell this as a business case, so that we can get buy-in. Thank you.
Thank you. Federal Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Trade Department. I just want to clear some misconception that Nigeria does not have a trade policy. I've been a witness in some other forum where this misconception also applies. Some people even say there's no industrial policy. But the question is, if we do not have trade policy, neither do we have industrial policy, how do the businesses operate? Now, I just want to let this forum know that as of last year, a team of WTO experts were in the country for 1 week, and they took a review of the 2011 Nigerian trade policy with relevant stakeholders. That exercise took about 1 week, and then after that, sometime in November or December thereabout, some team of Nigerian delegation went to WTO in Geneva and defended and presented that review Nigerian trade policy. Up to now, why that reviewed policy has not been ratified by the National Assembly is what we do not know. And perhaps that is maybe why some people are of the view that there's no trade policy. But please, I want to put it on record. When a policy is being reviewed, it does not mean that the old one has been jettisoned. It's still in operation. It is only some sectors that maybe we feel or a country feels is outdated or is not in line with current global practices that are being reviewed. And when that happens, there are some extant MDA circulars that guides the operations of that sector, So that is on that. Then the other issue is on cross-border trade. I do not know whether you are aware of a French organization called CILS. Yes, it's a French name. I don't want to cut my tongue trying to pronounce it, but that is the acronym. They are very good in reporting on cross-border agricultural transaction produce across the West African corridors. They publish a monthly bulletin on it. Now, one of the major challenges they report about is the issue of informal trade that is unrecorded. So I do not know whether there is anywhere, any idea, this forum that can proffer by which these informal traders can be encouraged to register formally. Because without recording this type of trade, it still contributes to the idea that there is low trade within the region. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for me. I would like to encourage only 3 questions. everything. We will have time for it in a closing. So please keep your contributions, recommendations. So if it's purely a
Thank you very much. My name is Femi Boyede. I'm an independent consultant. I'm a certified international trade professional. I wanted to wait until afternoon, but this requires immediate response. With due respect to the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Nigeria does not currently have a trade policy. There are WTO rules and guidelines to what constitutes a valid trade policy. With due respect, I was retained by DFID in 2003 to review Nigeria's trade policy that lapsed in 2000, 5 years earlier. That trade policy and the efforts that we made ended in the DFID office here in Abuja, because the then minister who was to present it for adoption by the Federal Executive Council was moved to the Ministry of Federal Capital Territory. In 2007, Nigeria attempted a review of its trade policy. It was led by Professor Oyejide.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
But that doesn't stop you to fulfill the necessity in your neighborhood if you are capable to. So if there is no further question, Terry requested for one line, and then I'm going to call in the next panel. Please, if you're
45 years ago, when it was still a colonial system, really. And we now have to get past that. And that's what you were saying. And that's about trust in West Africa. Now, the first thing is that what Richard was saying, and when we were talking about strengthening the trade associations, what do we actually have to do? It costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of time to get properly organized. So we tried to insert ourselves as WAFM in the non-state actors subcommittee of a part of ECOWAS called ECOWAP, which means we have a horizontal view of all the investment strategies coming into all the ECOWAS countries for agriculture. So we have a foot in the door. And the Francophone countries, as well as the Anglophone, said if WAFM could give them more information on access to finance, to train the public officials in the dialogue with the private sector, as well as the farmers' groups, then there would be more power for the farmers' groups and the public officials, and not just for a few big companies. Right? So if you want to start doing that sort of thing, we have to, like a little mouse, go around the wall and find a hole in the wall, get in it, put ourselves in there and say, well, in my case, we said, we're British, we're WAFM, and we're here, and we're going to stay. And we're going to build this thing, and you're not going to keep this in a little club. Okay? So this is the first thing. Then the second is that there is a good chance to build up much more knowledge on what the small traders are doing. So we're going to do a study in Niger, not in Nigeria, in Niger, of how powerful the impact of Nigerian exports is on Niger, and that Niger really depends on this. And without this, they won't have chicken feed, they won't have the maize oil, they won't have the fish feed that they need now, and they won't have the other things you can bring them, because it's not recognized, because it's not in the trade statistics. So if we're going to give power to the small traders and the small ladies and the small men and the small people, they've got to be recognized that they exist and they're important and they should have power the same as everyone else. And soil under their ground, agricultural soil that grows things and not shifting sands. So this is what we have in the next years. The British would love to help you do this, and we're very committed to it. We want to do it.
I think it's a time to now bring the focus once again back to our grantees, who actually yesterday also shed some light on their experiences and challenges, mainly on regional cross-border trade. Now I think it's a question of what these grantees, these processors, these farmer groups that are supported by WAFM project do to accelerate this cross-border trade and also how us as a project, what we can do basically in your mindset going forward, since Terry is already hinting the next phase of project starting probably next year with a new focus. So we would like to know a little more, a part of being audience, from you as the first-hand supported companies, that what could be done at our level as a project, and as well as what could be done at your level as a private company. So therefore, I would like to call for a quick panel discussion of 30 minutes before we go for a coffee break and continue with the rest of the day. I would like to call, first of all, Madame Oluyemsi from Saltree International, which is, she's going to play a role of facilitator for this panel. Please take your seat in the center of the table here. And then, then I would like to call another dynamic lady from Burkina